All right, you can see I got it all transferred, totally untaped or uncovered here. And you can see exactly what I was talking about. I was able to go back over my charcoal with a little bit of a Sharpie just to kind of define the lines a little bit better to see. And I was able to make a few adjustments. I was a little closer to the edge than I wanted to be, and just in terms of the way it was situated. So I was able to kind of fine tune it just a little bit to make sure it wasn't right on this line. This is the tail line right here, and the H was a little low, and so was the S. So I was able to kind of make adjustments and tighten it up a little bit, and now is the time that you can do anything you want to do in terms of fine-tuning some of these lines, rather than, like I was saying, drawing on this a couple times, and then all of a sudden you get lines everywhere, and it's just easier to do it. Or if you were to draw right on here, the thing you could do is do it in pencil, and then do like this again, is just come back and kind of hard line your final idea before you go ahead and start trying to weed out what is a good line and what's a bad line. So now we're just going to go ahead with a fresh X-Acto and just hand cut all these guys and weed all this out, and then we'll be ready to do a little bit of spraying. So it'll be about an hour's worth of taping and cutting and about 2 seconds of spraying. So that's usually how it goes with something like this. So then we got to, don't forget, flip it over, do the other side. We'll do obviously the reverse. We'll have to redo the name on the other side to match the correct direction. But we're going to go ahead and start cutting this out. Nice even pressure too. That's a nice thing with the gold tape, this gold mask FBS tape. Does not take a lot of effort to cut because it is so thin. The last thing you want to do is really start leaning on these lines to cut these, and then you have cut marks on your paint everywhere. That's the last thing you want to do. So very light pressure, almost letting the blade and the weight of the tool do the cutting for you. That's why a nice fresh blade is key all the time. It's a lot easier to have to just make one pass and have a nice clean cut than go a couple times or start thinking that you have to lean on it to really get a nice clean cut. So fresh blade, nice and easy. Take your time. We'll cut these out, and we'll see you guys in a minute. All right, guys, I got the first letter cut out, kind of like I talked about, and I actually wanted to show you guys something. You might not be familiar. This is kind of an old school kind of a tool. I know a lot of stuff, especially today, is done with a plotter, and it is a lot easier and faster. But if you have to absolutely hand cut stuff, this is a swivel knife, and this will make your life extremely easy when it comes to cutting real tight, curved, especially like these letters, because it does exactly that. It swivels. This blade, I don't know if you can see here, it actually swivels. So it rides on the inside of this case. It's real simple. It's a plastic little sleeve, and that blade actually will swivel. So you can actually go ahead and make real nice tight curves. And again, not having to bear down on the surface that you're cutting is a definite benefit. And because this blade has the ability to turn or swivel, again, I'm using very light pressure, following my line, and obviously maybe not so much the O, but you can see right here, I can just kind of continue this curve. It's almost like caster and camber with your pinstriping striping brush, if you know what I'm talking about. You can swivel this without picking it up. And you get a nice, smooth, even cut. It makes short, quick work of having to do hand cutting like this, especially when it's that kind of a tight radius that it is that you're trying to turn. So, not a new tool. This is something that's been out there for a very long time, but it is extremely handy when you're doing cutting like this. So, like I said before, I'm going to go ahead and continue cutting all this out, getting all this weeded, and we'll see you guys when we're ready to spray. All right, guys, welcome back. Went ahead and, like I said, I mentioned, I did the other side, I did the back side, the reverse, so it's going the right way. Got it all back masked and taped up. We are ready to go. I did not wipe anything down because, again, it's really small, and there's no reason to because it's clean. So what I'm going to do is a couple little stages to get this name. We don't want to go crazy with it. We kind of want to, less is more in terms of how he wants. Hudson actually wanted it to be in white, so we are going to do it in white. And I'm going to talk about the white that I'm going to use, and that is our Wicked Opaque White. The reason I'm using the Wicked Opaque White is two reasons. I want to spray as little as possible to get a nice white background. And I want to be able to control it. So sometimes the sealer white, it goes on pretty heavy because, again, it's designed as a sealer. And two, basically the more important reason for that is the Wicked Opaque White will cut better in terms of a tape line. And when I say cut better, I mean when that tape gets pulled, or the masking in this particular scenario, it's going to give a nice tight line. Where the sealer, because of the resonance in the sealer, and we've covered this in some other videos, we actually covered it in a couple of videos, one of them in the sealer video, it's designed for more like edge to edge for the entire piece or the entire panel that you're working on, because it's a different resin. It actually sometimes has a tendency to tear more if you really do some intricate taping, especially with what we got going on here with a lot of these really tight lines. So Wicked Opaque White is going to cover extremely well. I'll probably do 2 coats real quick. This is pretty much right out of the bottle, 10% reducer. I am going to spray it again with my TH2. So this is a 1.6 nozzle, and this is perfect for everything we're going to spray. So I'm going to spray the Wicked Opaque White first, and then I'm going to go to a mix, a 50-50 mix of Hot Rod Sparkle White and coarse metallic white. And that's the same thing. It's just reduced 10%. I already got it in the cup right there. And it's going to just kind of kick this up a little bit. And because we're going to do it in as minimal a step as possible, we're going to get that extra bling from that Hot Rod Sparkle White, and it won't have that tendency to sometimes leave a little bit of a dark shadow, especially over white. Sometimes a Hot Rod Sparkle White, when it falls on the surface, especially with white, it has a little mini shadow from the flake, and it actually makes it look kind of like dust, or kind of dirty almost. So if you see it in the sun, it's really bright and vibrant, but on a side cast, it has a tendency to kind of just look like a dirt particle in there. So mixing it with the metallic white is going to give us a nice glittery effect. Real simple. We'll see what that looks like. We might come back and maybe do a little bit of shading or highlighting, but probably do a little bit less is more. So I am going to go ahead, get this in my gun, and start spraying. So again, probably 2 coats, 2 passes with this. It's going to be all I need to do. It's going to give me really good coverage and a good base for my Hot Rod Sparkle White. Now I'm spraying right around 35, 40 PSI in this gun. And you can see, really quick, I'm already getting coverage. I'm really happy with this. And again, I don't want to go super dry because I don't want it to get grainy, but I also don't want to go super heavy because I don't want to start bridging the paint to the tape. And when we say bridging, if you guys don't know what I mean with that, it means actually kind of spanning that gap from the tape to the painted surface. The last thing you want to do is build up so much material here. When you start pulling this off, again, it has a tendency to kind of want to all hang together and not tear nice and clean. You can see 1 coat that's really covered very well. So my second pass right here real quick. And you can see too, I'm not spraying this whole thing like I would with a spray gun. I'm actually tracing the letters, again, to try to just help alleviate the amount of overspray that I'm creating and kind of just really detail this in. There's no reason to add extra paint if I don't have to. And that's about it right there. So I'll go ahead and do the back side, and we'll be back and we'll spray our Hot Rod Sparkle. All right guys, welcome back. It is totally dry, and we're ready to do the last step of this, which is that mixture, that cocktail, that 1-to-1 Hot Rod Sparkle White and metallic coarse white. So same thing, like I said, a little bit of 4011 just for flow, and we're going to put it on. And again, I'm not trying to get coverage with this. So the last thing you want to do is really hammer this on. You're going to get a better result with just a nice little bit of an overspray, because we're doing this just for an effect. Any of these colors, even the metallic white, it's basically just a flake. It's not actually pigment. So if you're thinking that you can put a metallic white down over something dark and you think it's going to turn white, it's not going to do that. Like the Hot Rod Sparkle will not do that either. There actually is no pigment to it. It's white because the flake is white, or like a bright clear silver. So over blue, you can see It's not changing the blue anything. It's not, it's a little wet. I just had water in there. But if I spray this over the tape right there, it's not doing anything other than leaving a little bit of that sparkle behind. You're never going to cover that blue. So it's going to look blue with flake over it. So again, you're not going to be able to achieve a white finish if you're doing something over a dark color. So that's why I did the Wicked Opaque White. So again, just real light, nice and even. Nice and even, just gonna spray a little bit of this flake over the top. Let that dry. I'll go to the other side and I'll just keep coming back and forth. Now this should almost be, you can see it's almost pretty much dry to the touch. That's what I want. All I want left behind is that actual flake, not the resin basically that's holding the carrier, that's holding this together. So if you start doing that, you're gonna end up bridging. Again, like we talked about, you're gonna start making these really thick and there's really no reason for it. It's gonna start looking really mealy and kind of bumpy, and that's not what we're after. So again, working light coats, almost dry to the touch every time. We'll be good. I'll probably do the other side and I'll come back and do this side one more time, and we'll see what we got. So we'll see you guys in a minute. Good guys, we're back, and the white is totally dry. And you might not be able to see it here, just the angle, but it's got a nice sparkle, glitter effect. I'm just gonna go through, I have a little bit of my Wicked Detail White, reduced it down with 4011, and I'm just gonna kind of go in and just kind of shadow the bottom edge of these letters, just to give them a little bit of depth, just to give it a little more than just a flat look to it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just airbrush this in, just kind of ride the line. Real minimal. You can see I'm getting more paint on the leading edge of my mask than I am on the letter itself. This is, I don't want to overpower it, and a lot of times with black it's very easy to get too much and it looks very stark in terms of contrast. So I'm looking to just kind of shade just the bottom edge of these, just to give them like a little bit of a belly. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of ride, like I said, ride the outline of the letter, and any kind of overspray is just touching, kissing the inside of those letters. I'm not trying to really get it dark because it's going to look fake. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I might come back and just hit this with a little bit of pure white up top, back with my Wicked Opaque White, just to kind of give a little hot spot at the tops, and I think we're going to call these done. So we'll see you guys in a little bit. All right, guys, we are back, all untaped, nice and clean. It looks pretty good. Might go back and just kind of dial some of these edges a little bit, and again, it's hand cut, so it's kind of the nature of the beast. One thing we did notice, though, when I was untaping this is we had this. We said this was a bank, right? So you saw in the beginning there, we have that pot, the coin holder, and the coins go into the mouth, and this is all routed right here, right? Well, this side is not. So what I did was, I'm like, I kind of want to mimic this, because you saw there's like a set of eyes that go on here as well. So just in the event that it's on this side, that's why we lettered this side as well, I kind of didn't like that it didn't have the mouth. So I just went ahead and took a little piece, actually 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch, the red LaRue Pro Band from FBS, and I kind of just mimicked that shape. So I'll go back through and I'll just kind of border my fine line, my 1/8 inch around that, and then I'll just go back and spray this with this dark blue color, this phthalo blue, and that'll kind of give us that illusion of the mouth. So that's going to be the last thing we do. We're just going to quickly spray that and let this dry up and get some clear on it, and then we'll see you guys when it's all finished. All right, everyone, welcome back. I went ahead and sprayed the little mouth there, so that's all totally done. It actually looks good now. I'm happy with it. It matches the other side. This is totally dry, tacked off, and ready to spray. And like I mentioned before, we're going to top coat it with a 2K. This is a clear coat, a 2K clear coat from our friends over at American Icon. If you've seen some of the other videos we've done in the past, about the last 2 months, I've been really spraying a lot of this product, and I really like it. We always get a lot of questions for, like what clears do you recommend? You guys know, big proponent of PPG products, but this definitely, it fits right up there in that category. It's a very nice clear, pretty high solids, it has a nice look, it works great over our product. So we're gonna do 2 coats over this guy. This is my LPH 300, so it's a little bit smaller than the 400. I sprayed the base with this before too, same good. 1.3, it's a perfect tip size for this, so we're gonna go ahead and start clearing. Guys, welcome back. We are at the tail end of putting some finishing touches on the lettering here. I just kind of like the look of a hand striped outline on the letters here. I have one shot. I'm using a little bit of one shot right out of the can, a little bit of reducer to thin it out, the right consistency I want. And I actually put a couple drops of the hardener for the clear that I'm using on this. And I used clear from American Icon. So a couple little drops of American Icon clear, a real small amount. And then we're gonna let this dry about 12 hours before we go ahead and top coat with that clear coat. So, and the thought process behind that is to let this striping enamel really lock up and get nice and dry so we don't have any wrinkling issues when we go ahead and clear coat this. So I'm just gonna go ahead and finish this last letter. And then we'll let this dry up, and then the next thing you know, we'll be clearing this guy, putting it back together, doing the final assembly on it, and getting it in Hudson's room. So we will see you guys when we start clearing. All right, everyone, welcome back. We gave it exactly enough time. We left off in the pinstriping, like I mentioned. We put a little bit of the activator in with that pinstriping paint. So we use the same activator, which happens to be from our friends at American Icon Clear, American Icon Finishes, available at Spray Gunner. So you can check them out. That's what we used over the top of this, a couple coats to seal this all up. So I made sure my striping was nice and dry. I came back with 2 coats of American Icon and let that dry up. And now we see the finished product. This is it, totally assembled and ready to go to Hudson's house so he can beat the heck out of this thing and start saving some money. So I guess it kind of speaks for itself in terms of what it is that we did and with the finished product. We're going to try to get this thing outside so you can really see what this looks like in the sun with all the cosmic and the hot rods that we used and all these colors. It really is going to come to life out in the sun, really light up and pop. So we're going to try to get this thing out there, grab some sunlight, and you guys can see the finished product. So we'll see you in a minute. All right, guys, we are outside and we got some serious sun, so I think you can really see the effect that those cosmic sparkle and iridescent colors over those just solid, wicked opaque bases. I mean, it really makes for a dramatic finish and some really cool effects when you couple those together. So we got a little bit of that hot rod sparkle white over the lettering just to kind of break that up. It's a little bit more bold, but again, real simple to do. Some really cool effects. Really clean colors here. So for Createx Colors, I'm Chris Arpin, and we will see you guys next time.